Writer and producer Tyler Perry is by no means a health expert. But when he posted a video on Instagram in April discussing black people, their likelihood of having low vitamin D levels, and the possible connection to COVID-19, it caught my attention. In the video, he said, "A lot of people who have died of COVID-19 were low in vitamin D." And it turns out, one preliminary study from Northwestern University found a link between severe vitamin D deficiency and higher mortality rates. I've always known that black people were more likely to have low vitamin D levels, but I never gave it a second thought, until now. So naturally, as I was trying to determine whether or not I should pay attention to these levels and the purported risk association with COVID-19, I found myself spending my free time researching the topic and wondering if my family got enough sun or if we should be taking supplements. Here's what I found out. Vitamin D doesn't act like a typical vitamin. It's an essential nutrient, which means the human body needs it but can't make it on its own. While some foods such as salmon and dairy contain, or are fortified with, vitamin D, human beings get most of their vitamin D from the sun, through a chemical reaction in the skin that produces vitamin D. Black people have higher amounts of melanin in their skin than those with lighter skin tones, and melanin naturally provides some protection from the sun, but it also reduces the skin's ability to produce vitamin D from sunlight. What's more, many black people are lactose intolerant, so their diet often lacks dairy fortified with vitamin D, leaving them with lower than average levels in their system. According to a study conducted by the Cooper Institute, nearly 76% of African American adults are vitamin D deficient. And while it's true that black people commonly have lower levels of vitamin D, some studies suggest that commonly used tests might overdiagnose vitamin D deficiency in black people. It's thought that people who have vitamin D deficiency can't fight off infection as strongly and have a weakened immune response, so it makes sense that they will have a higher instance of infection. But even if you trust your test results, science still hasn't landed on exactly what the numbers mean. There is a lot of debate on how low vitamin D levels need to be before they are clinically important, says Keith Norris, MD, PhD, professor of medicine at the University of California, Los Angeles. When it's a little low, it may not be that important. While scientists are still digging into exactly how low levels need to be before they start affecting your health, here are the generally accepted numbers. The ideal vitamin D level is at least 30 nanograms per milliliter, and anything below 20 nanograms per milliliter is usually considered low. If the level gets to about 15 nanograms per milliliter, vitamin D deficiency can affect your immune health. The theory is that low levels of vitamin D impair the development and production of white blood cells that eat invading pathogens such as viruses and bacteria. Low vitamin D levels are also associated with immune system-related dysfunction. This is where vitamin D becomes relevant when thinking about black people's health in the current pandemic. It's thought that people who have vitamin D deficiency can't fight off infection as strongly and have a weakened immune response, so it makes sense that they will have a higher instance of infection, says Wood. According to a recent study, black people are 3.57 times more likely to die from COVID-19 complications, and CDC research found that 1 in 3 people who became sick enough to require hospitalization from COVID-19 were African American. There are two possible, yet still hypothetical, explanations for why black Americans have suffered disproportionately from COVID-19, both involving vitamin D. First, black people are more likely to be diagnosed with obesity, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes, which are all linked to a higher risk for COVID-19 complications, and some of these conditions have links to low vitamin D levels. For example, research has shown that obesity can potentially result in a lower concentration of vitamin D levels, possibly because people with obesity are likely to experience issues with the kidney's ability to produce vitamin D, according to Wood. Other studies have found an association between vitamin D levels and heart disease. Secondly, there might be a direct link between vitamin D and respiratory infections like COVID-19. Though it didn't look at the novel coronavirus specifically, a 2017 study in BMJ linked vitamin D levels to acute respiratory tract infections. According to the study, supplementing with vitamin D reduced the risk of a respiratory tract infection in all participants. Those with vitamin D deficiency saw the most benefit, decreasing their risk of developing a respiratory infection by 70% when they brought their vitamin D levels into a normal range. The study didn't say why vitamin D is associated with a lower risk for respiratory infection, but one possible explanation could be vitamin D's strengthening effect on the immune system. You can take a daily vitamin D supplement or multivitamins. But also look at your stress levels and diet. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. If you can reduce stress via yoga or meditation or other things, it can have a huge impact on your immune system. According to the National Institutes of Health (NIH), adults between 19 and 70 should get at least 600 IU of vitamin D per day, which you can get from foods that provide high amounts of vitamin D. For example, a glass of fortified milk has 100 IU of vitamin D, a serving of salmon comes with 530 IU, and canned tuna has 270 IU per serving, or a supplement. Most multivitamins contain 400 IU of vitamin D. Both doctors I interviewed for this article stated that most people can take 1000 IU of vitamin D supplementation per day without any issues. But know that you can overdo it. Doctors urge black people to be cautious about supplementing with high doses of vitamin D. Generally, the recommended upper limit is 4000 IU per day, so don't go over that amount. While rare, vitamin D overdose can potentially lead to high blood calcium, which can cause confusion, kidney failure, and kidney stones. In order to address the many conditions linked to vitamin D deficiencies, both doctors suggest black people do what they can to address stress and their daily lifestyle in addition to watching vitamin intake. You can take a daily vitamin D supplement or multivitamins. But also look at your stress levels and diet. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. If you can reduce stress via yoga or meditation or other things, it can have a huge impact on your immune system, suggests Norris. Stress levels and diet are important factors for many kinds of illness, including conditions that can put you at a higher risk for vitamin D deficiency. It must be said, while vitamin D may help with immune health and could reduce the severity of some infectious diseases, taking vitamin D supplements is not a cure and will not prevent COVID-19 in black people. Poor access to health care, little accessibility to healthy foods, less ability to work from home, and pay inequality all lead to black people being at a higher risk for chronic diseases, which lead to a higher COVID-19 morbidity. Vitamin D is only one part of the puzzle.